very difficult for you to pull out time for a session like this. Anyway, thank you for everyone. I'll just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Could you make it in the presentation format?
Just give me a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So today I would like to take you through an area that has been untouched or very rarely touched by especially the retail sectors. Because see, these laws there is I mean whole area, like these laws are completely not just gonna impact your businesses or and sorry, it's not gonna impact your employees alone, but there is a huge other impact that is gonna cost your businesses, your brand, your reputation, or even it is leading to a huge financial losses. Even public, if you see, it is gonna impact the public as a whole as well. This is mainly because this area is unknown to a lot of people, or this is not being properly understood by a lot of people. This is called the environment health and safety laws. And to be frank, in India, if you see, there is a misunderstanding among a lot of companies that environment, health, and safety laws are only applicable to a factory or in very intense any particular space where there is a intense activity that is being carried out. Even people who have joined this call, being a part of a retail sector, you would be thinking that mine is just a store which provide, we just sell a product or we just sell a few services. That is the maximum activity, the maximum that the maximum level of activity that is carried out in a store. So what kind of environment, health and safety laws are you talking about? This major understanding is lacking in a lot of retail sector. This is actually, if you see, it's not, it's actually a sobering reality. There's a lack of this awareness, and people are yet to know what is environment, health and safety laws and how does it impact the retail sectors. The main reason behind it is, if you see in India currently, people are not so aware about environment, health and safety laws. They get alarmed, or they get alarmed only when a particular incident occurs in their establishment. Until that, they'll be totally ignorant about such laws. Environment, health and safety laws is their least priority. There are other set of laws they feel that would be directly impacting their businesses, and not environment, health and safety laws. So this is the lack, this, as I mentioned, this is the lack of awareness. Even if even at the situation when they get alarmed, what they do is they try to bring up a temporary resolution for it. By temporary, what I meant is, like, suppose, if I'll take an instance, suppose if there is a fire outbreak in your establishment, and authority found that you don't have a fire license or fire no objection certificate. So at that moment, what the companies do is, they'll just go to the authority or get the no objection certificate. But are they actually taking care of all the precautionary measures that they would have taken initially to avoid this outbreak? No. Are they abiding by all the conditions that has been listed under the no objection certificate? No. So at that moment, they're only seeing, see, at this moment, complying by environment, health and safety laws is very unnecessary expense. Or they would also feel that, it's waste of my time. It's not gonna cause any much impact to your business. So a few pennies, if you're trying to save a few pennies, but At the end, if you look forward to your future, it is gonna impact give you a impact that would cause a hefty amount of penalty. Leave behind the huge financial loss that you're facing, there is a complete shutdown of your business that is gonna cause them, and also it might end to a reputational damage as well. So just imagine the kind of reputation that you have built up for so many years is being lost at one particular instance due to one single non-compliance. So why don't we take up this matter into seriousness? So these things are very easy to comply. To be frank, it's very easy to comply if you know the law, if you have a very good knowledge about these compliances. It's very easy to comply by. Or if you have a very good compliance partner by your side, then it's just a piece of cake. So I just wanted to take you through an instance where if you see there are very just wanted to hit you through a lot of sovereign reality checks. To recently, as I mentioned about a massive fire outbreak that had actually happened in a mall in India. It has happened in Mumbai, and what they found is like they were lacking a proper ventilation system. This I'm talking about a mall where there are innumerous stores being located. That too, big brands or maybe small brands as well. But whatever it is, they were lacking. It's a huge building. They would be having a lot of floors in it. They were lacking of ventilation, proper ventilation. That was the first scenario that they have noted down. The second scenario was they didn't have a proper fire installations. And whatever fire installations that they had, that even was not in a working condition. So just imagine here, when the mall management itself lacked the compliance of environment, health, and safety laws, the impact was not just to the mall management, but also to the number of outlets that was located inside the mall. There was a huge destruction. Just imagine the impact that had caused both to the management, even to the stores, and also to the people who had come to do the shopping inside the mall. So that is the kind of that is being caused just because they have not seen towards the compliance of a few things that they could have seen earlier. This is the case of a mall where they would have had a proper legal team, or maybe a proper consulting team, but none of them have told them. None of For them, they feel like environment, health, and safety laws are the least priority. They feel that labor compliance, if you don't comply by labor compliance, your employees are going to file a case. Or if you don't get proper employees in your establishment, or finance related, you get a huge penalty. But what about environment, health, and safety laws? Why are you not even bothering about environment, health, and safety laws? Why do we have to reach that brim point to see that, oh, you were not complying by it? Why can't I start doing it? So it's not a duty to the public we have to see. This is a duty to yourself. Why do we have to put your business on at stake when something very simple could have been taken care before? So, similar to this instance, if you see, you would have gone through a lot of supermarkets, and leaving behind the supermarkets, if you see, you would have nowadays, apart from supermarkets, you're getting a lot of deliveries to your house itself. If those, instant, there are, I'm not sure, most of the advertisements of those companies are, you get the items within 10 minutes or within 5 minutes. So this is the kind of posters or advertisement that they forward, so that people, it's ease of compliance for those companies, for the people who are people who are working. And so they try to avoid going to supermarkets, or it's more like a quick commerce. Okay. So but have you ever thought that is the food that is being delivered to you, or whatever materials or whatever product that they are giving to you, are in a hygiene condition? Or have you, if suppose you're in that business, have you ever thought that you have to keep those products, or the things that you collect from the proper manufacturers to sell it out? Have you ever thought that you have to comply by a list of compliances that have to abide by a huge hygiene standards? Now, I would like to point out a recent incident that had happened. The inspectors, what they found is most of the packaged food items were not properly maintained in a hygienic standards. Like, for example, I'll tell you about, the cold, the frozen food and all. You get nowadays, you get a frozen food like frozen meat, frozen peanut. I mean, sorry, peas. Those things and all. It is very important that you have to keep it in a particular temperature, a exact temperature. That temperature has to be properly maintained, which is prescribed under the laws, under FSSAI laws. But are you abiding by it? Just because it's easy, quick and easy to sell it out rather than having a retail store physically selling it, doesn't mean that you have a very less compliance. You have a huge list of compliance that you have to abide by. Along with it, just like that, there are supermarkets also equally. Both supermarkets as well as these warehouses have to equally abide by a huge list of compliances when you're dealing with any of the products. I'm not just talking about food licenses. I'm talking for sorry, food related compliances, but I'm talking about every other product. You're supposed to keep it in proper health, hygienic conditions. Plus, you have to see that if any of the product is in expired state, or there are innumerous other compliances along with it. And I also wanted to bring up a instance. I'm not sure if anybody of you are aware, but you would have seen across news that there was a GST reforms recently. If you see, there was a revision of GST rates for certain products. But are you aware of what was the impact that caused to environment, health, and safety laws? Environment, health, and I just imagine a finance reform has caused some impact over EHS laws as well. EHS laws as well. So have you ever thought how that works? I'm not sure if you have seen in a lot of products, if you see, there is a particular label around it. Suppose if you take up a water bottle, or any particular food product, if you see, or any particular product, not just the food product, any particular product, if you see around it, there is a label. Over there, you have to write the MRP rates. Got it? So when you revise, when they revise the GST rates, don't you think that impacts your labeling requirements under Legal Metrology Act, or if it's a food item, even under FSSI laws? So these I'll just you have you ever thought how does this retail sector take care of these matter? Like suppose if there is a change in the revision, recently there was a change in the GST rates. That particular revision, they were supposed to put it up on MRP rates. But earlier, how it was like, they have to stick new revision, revised MRP has to be, a sticker has to be placed over the old label as well. So the old label also can be there, while the new label also has to be there. So there were a lot of retail outlets, or not just retail outlets, every other outlets. They found it very difficult. There were a lot of products which is already manufactured, and a lot of it was being sent out to the distributors, to a retail outlets everywhere, or they're even selling out in the retail store. So it becomes very difficult when one fine day morning, the government brings up something like this. So what happens there is like, what like they were not aware. See, tomorrow it's more like, the currency demonetization, all these happened fine day, one fine day morning, right? Similarly something happened very fine day. So it found it, all the stores found it very difficult how to manage that, how do they take care of that matters. So now what the government this time what they did is like it became voluntary for them to stick a label, but they have got this relaxation till 2026 March. So these are certain knowledge or understanding that somebody might, a person, a layman who is freshly into the business might not know. They have to, they should have a legal mind behind it to back things up, like to tell them, see, this has happened, now you have to abide by this. But do you have somebody like that, or are you aware it, like reading out in the newspaper? If you come across it, good, you can check with a legal department or a consultant, you will understand what it is regarding. But otherwise, are you aware of it? If you're least bothered, you just started a business and you just started selling out the product, but some one fine day the inspector comes to your store and they take up your all your products and they see that, see, the MRP is given wrongly, or the labeling requirements listed is not properly done in your labels. So all your products are being taken, are being, has to be dumped. Then you can't sometimes you can't even recall those products. So it becomes very difficult. So until and unless you get to know these details, it becomes very difficult for a, especially a retail sector, and also somebody who steps into business very freshly. So these things, it's it's something that anybody, any particular legal consultant or somebody who has a legal knowledge can convey to you. Similarly, I'll take up an instance of FSSI rules. If you see, I think I have also pointed this out in my last webinar. Labeling requirements is not just your product. If you see, like around every bottle of water or every food product, you would see a label giving all the nutrition information, your MRP rates, then calorific value, and all those things are there. But just imagine if you if there is a separate labeling requirements for the food products that you sell it in a restaurant. The one that the one that I'm talking about is the freshly prepared food. So this requirement comes up for a menu card. If you see in every restaurant, you would have seen in the menu card across all food item, there would be a logo, like a veg, non-veg logos given. And some restaurants would have mentioned the new, calorific value, that this particular serving is this much calorie per kg, or whatever the quantity it is related to. So you would have seen all this information in a menu card. Just imagine, this is there. This has to be abided by every restaurant. In some cases, there is a threshold limit of number of outlets you have. So this has to be printed in every menu card that you supply in a restaurant. And there were a lot of instances where this menu card, lot of restaurants have not abided by this, and they were being imposed a big fine, a warning letter, notices were being issued. So these are the instances when you're not aware. Even if you ask somebody who gets into business freshly, you ask them that when you're printing a menu card, you can print it all fancy, but are you abiding by the FSSI labeling requirements? They might not be aware. So these are the, legal nuances that might be not aware by a lot of people, but it's actually good that people are trying to learn nowadays. There are a lot of trainings, a lot of articles, blogs written by a lot of people where these things are given, but those details can be also misleading. So you should be at the right platform to understand what are the kind of environment, health, and safety laws that is going to impact your businesses. So see, this might be this kind of awareness. The lack of awareness is mainly at two scenarios. Suppose you might be new to business and you are actually willing to comply by all the rules and regulation. But at the initial stage, in the time of inception, what you can do to the maximum is you get into the day-to-day operations, but at some point of time you might not be able to fulfill certain obligations, such as sometimes might miss out one or the other filings, and sometimes you might forget to apply for some licenses. So this might be you are willing to comply, but due to some high pressure in your business, and you're the only one taking care of the day-to-day operations, and you're not able to take care of it properly. So that in their documentations, so I'm to be frank, if you see, uh, there are under EHS laws, just like I have meant, not it is not at all like any other laws. It have multiple departments that is taking care of things. So to take up the matter of FSSI laws, it's FSSI. Suppose if you own a food retail or a restaurant, there is a multiple authority like legal metrology, FSSI, then fire department, then pollution control board, then if you see electricity authority. So there are multiple departments. You have to go one by one, procure each license, file each return, document it, get it renewed on a monthly basis. It's not just one time I'm talking about. This is multiple times. There are monthly requirements, there is quarterly, half yearly, there is annually as well. So if it's one time, it's easy. You do it once, then you finish it off. You don't have to bother look back. But that's not the instance here. There is multiple departments, multiple types of compliances, at multiple frequency. So it might be very difficult for anybody who is still willing to comply, but due amidst the day-to-day operations, some things get overlooked. And the other scenario is you might be very experienced in the industry, like you know everything, but but you've been in the business for a while, and you feel like environment, health and safety laws are not applicable to you, or it might be not enforced properly by any authority. That there are certain people who has that kind of mindset. But I'm not blaming anybody here. Oh, this is not because this because of carelessness. It is just because they don't have a clarity. They don't know how environment, health, and safety laws are gonna impact their businesses. That lack of clarity is gonna cost a huge problem for your business. So when I say lack of clarity, what I'm talking about here is what I'm talking What I'm talking about here is the lack of compliance knowledge. You might not have a proper, information regarding any of these laws, and you might also not have a proper centralized ownership. Like there won't be one person owning it. Like at some instance it would be just one person handling multiple things. So you can't reach everywhere. You can't run today if it's in if you have to get the license from fire department, tomorrow you have to get from PCB, or the day after you might have to go to the electricity department. So there might be one person handling it, and you can't do it all alone. Or in other instances, it would be just, there would be multiple people handling it, and you don't know who should handle what. So there's no proper tracking mechanism. Like you don't have a tracking mechanism, or there's no particular system in place to enable, an organized tech-enabled system to process all these compliances. And um, you might also not be aware that the kind of scrutiny that the authorities has might be very sudden, might be very surprising. It might sometimes your department or your store has not been inspected by anybody till the date, but tomorrow it might or might not come. So if you are not ready with all the compliance being abided, then what will happen? What will you do if an inspector comes to your place tomorrow? What proof are you going to show them? Do you have that register saying that, yes, I have complied by it? Or do you have that receipt of the returns that you have filed? Do you have that license copies, or the details that you have displayed on this in the on your premises? Do you have any of those details? You might not. So this is the reality. These are the high risk areas that would lead to the non compliance with EHS laws. So that would expose the entire your board of management to a penal risk. Now I would like to take you through. I know it's been, I'm just keeping on telling what is to be done, but now I would like to go through what I know a lot of people knows, but I just still feel that many of them doesn't know what is the structure, what does this environment health and safety laws are. To give a brief idea of it, as I mentioned, EHS laws has three pillars, which is responsible for a proper business operation across all industries. So the first pillar being environment. This this pillar has basically the regulations that govern the protection, conservation, and sustainable use of natural resources. By natural resources, it can be air, water, soil, biodiversity, etc. So anything to prevent and conserve that. And what does the industry has to do to protect, conserve, and to promote sustainable use of natural resources is being clearly given under EHS laws. The second pillar being health, where the laws are more focused on ensuring the food safety, public health, consumer protection, and even hygiene in the business operations. And the third pillar being safety, which is the regulations that are aimed at ensuring workplace safety, operation safety, and even the accident prevention. So these are the three pillars of environment, health, and safety laws. Now I would like to take you through a little detail a little detail in these pillars. First being the First, being the environment related legislations. I'll just give you a brief. Uh, this is an exhaustive list. If you see, it might have more than, I'm not sure which all retail sector have joined this call. It might or might not be applicable to you. It depends on the activities that you carry out and the particular space area, and the kind of products you handle. It depends on various criteria. So I'll just give the list. As I mentioned, this might or might not be applicable. So under the first legislation, that is Environment Protection Act, there is this Environment Protection Rules which prescribes noise related compliances, the environmental statements that you have to prescribe, and all those details, and the guidelines for regulating groundwater extraction. So if you see, there are certain stores which extract water from groundwater. From underground. So when you extract that, even for that, there is a specific permission that has to be procured. And even it doesn't end there. You have to see the quality of the water when you're extracting it. Monthly testing has to be run. So there are list of compliances even under the groundwater. And then comes the noise pollution. As the name suggests, it's easy. If you're going above a particular decibels, then there is a pollution that you're causing due to the noise that you're creating. So to protect, regulate, and control that, they've prescribed this particular rules. And then comes the solid waste management rules. As the name suggests, the next few of them are waste management rules. That is solid waste, hazardous waste, e-waste, battery waste, biomedical waste, and plastic waste. So here the compliance is not just for the manufacturers of these items, but also to the producers, the brand owners, then the manufacturers, as I mentioned, the people who sell it, then the people who recycles, refurbish it, repack, process, and even to the user, bulk consumers as well. Not even bulk consumers, even in few of the waste management rules, there are certain There are specific users who have to procure certain licenses. They have to file certain returns. They have to abide by a lot of specifications and standards, and also display, maintain a lot of registers. So these are the type of compliances that is falling under these waste management rules. So it doesn't end here. It depends. It depends on, as I mentioned, depends on various activity that you are carrying out. Then moving on to the environment Moving on to the next set of license under environment related legislation is the Air Prevention and Control Pollution Act and Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act. I think most of them are aware of these two laws. If you see, the first thing that you have to procure if you're opening a store, any building, is the consent to establish, consent to operate, and if it's very big, massive building or construction, then they have to take up the environment clearance also. So these two legislations prescribe anything that is going to cause air pollution or water prevention. There is a set of, as I mentioned, there is two consents that has to be obtained: consent to establish, consent to operate. Then there is a filing of returns, maintenance of registers. Again, lot of specifications and standards coming under this. Motor Vehicles Act. This, as I mentioned, you have your own vehicle, be it whatever it is, like supposed to transport your goods from other area to your store, or if you have if you're acting as a delivery partner as well, the bikes or the buses, whatever kind of vehicles it is, there is a set of requirements that you have to look into, like the person who is handling the trans vehicle, if they have a proper license, and if inside the vehicle there's a first aid kit, there are a lot of compliances under that. And as I mentioned earlier about the groundwater, each state also have groundwater enactments that you have to look into. And moving on to health related legislations, as you already know, the first legislation that comes up into your mind is the Food Safety and Standards Act. Apart, this is the first thing that comes up to everybody, but everybody feels that this is only applicable to a restaurant, or maybe any particular any particular store which sells food related items. It can be a packeted food, cooked food, or maybe a nutritional food. It can be anything. So this is a misunderstanding. I just want to clear that out clearly. Um, Even if you have a cafeteria in your restaurant, sorry, in your store, suppose it might be very difficult in small stores. If you have a coffee machine, even you're giving out food to the other person, right? So the idea behind this is, whatever type of food it is, if you are giving it out to anybody, you're supposed to take care of lot of compliances under the Food Safety and Standards Act. So it is not just applicable to the stores which sell out food products, food items, or any kind of food. It is also applicable to to the stores which has a cafeteria, even a coffee machine for their personal use. So there are a lot of legislations under that. There's for licenses, you have to abide by licensing and registration of food business regulation. Food recall procedures, mainly suppose your your particular food has been the inspector felt that your food has been is not in a hygienic condition, or somebody would have filed a complaint. They come and test your food item. They take it out they take it out, and all the products can be recalled, stating that it is recalled by you. And those procedures, recalled as in, you can go to the authority and file a application saying to recall, to say that this particular food is not being non-compliant under any of these food related legislations. So those procedures are being listed under this regulations. And specific foods like food for infant nutrition, health supplements, nutraceuticals, food for special dietary use, all those also has separate regulations. Even a vegan food, even for that there is a specification standard. I'm not sure if you have seen, to take up a matter, not a matter, I would say, but there was a particular food item in McDonald's called Jane food. So in Jane, the specific, not just Jane's, I'm just talking about generally. So even for every other vegan foods, it is very clear that you're supposed to have the proper ingredients in it. So when you're stating that a particular food is vegan, you have to be 100% sure that the food item is vegan. So when they said, when McDonald's, when they said that, when they released a food item called Jane category, Jane food, it was vegan. Plus, there was certain other ingredients which shouldn't be added to it. So they have, since when they brought up, they have to abide by it under the regulations that is being prescribed under Food Safety and Standards Act. So whenever a restaurant is claiming that they're 100% vegan, they sell out vegan, or suppose one category of food is vegan, they have to abide by the compliances under the vegan food regulations. Then the next regulation is a huge, it has a huge list of compliances, that is the labeling and display regulations, which clearly prescribes the labeling requirements under uh, both uh, both packeted food plus the prepared food. So it is applicable to food business operators, that is whoever is manufacturing it, plus food service establishments also. By food service establishment, I'm talking about the restaurants, then the restaurants, cafeterias, etc. And food safety audit regulations and packing regulation, basically, as the main name suggests, it is for the monthly periodical auditing of food items and the packaging regulations. Moving on to other health related legislations are Cigarette and Other Tobacco Products Act. So you would have seen in a lot of buildings or any retail stores, there would be a display given there as uh, smoking, what prohibition of, this is a no smoking area. Have you ever seen that in a lot of buildings? Did you know that this is being clearly prescribed under a statute? This particular regulation is clearly mentioned under statute, and that is the main reason why the buildings or any other store are affixing that on their premises. Moving on to the Legal Metrology Act also, as I mentioned, it just don't stick on to the packaged comment. So by legal metrology, what I would say is not just the label requirements given here. If you have seen a lot of you would have seen a lot of, a lot of stores which weigh their items before selling it. So I'll take an instance of supermarkets. In supermarkets, every measuring scale is being placed in a lot of areas, right? Did you know that you're supposed to verify and get it stamped from the authority periodically? Every not see all those weights and measures, when you're manufacturing it, you're supposed to get a proper license and all for it. But apart from it, as a user, there is an additional compliance for a user. So being a retail outlet, where if you're using any kind of weights of measures, depends on the scale, you are supposed to get it properly verified and stamped periodically. So this is a requirement apart from the labeling requirements which I have mentioned. There is a list of compliances under Legal Metrology Act as well for the users also, not just for manufacturers. So users, if it's gonna be the retail outlet, then you're supposed to abide by all the conditions. Drugs and cosmetics acts, it's very clear. If you're selling out drugs, cosmetics, any kind of drugs, it can be a pharmacy or at any other particular store, or even if you're selling it online, you're supposed to get it. Or if you're importing it even, you're supposed to get a license, and there are registers that you have to maintain and maintain prescription list. If it's a pharmacy, there are a lot of complaints under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act as well. State Excise Prohibition Act, as you know, this is mainly related to if you're selling out any liquor or any kind of alcohol, any brewed in your restaurant, or if you have a supermarket kind of area where you send out liquors, you sell out liquors, you have to procure, or if you have a warehouse even, you have to procure proper license. Without a license, it's a complete prohibition. So proper license has to be procured by each state excise department. That is the most difficult task. Excise license is a very difficult license that has to be, there are numerous compliances that you have to abide by, uh, uh, and it is very difficult for a layman to procure it. So that's the kind of difficulty that one would face when you go to an excise department. And as I mentioned, there is also a state level Prohibition of Smoking Act. So for all state it has. Now moving on to the safety related legislations. The first one is the Electricity Act. As you know, for all the consumption of electricity, you are supposed to see, you when you consume electricity, it can be in any forms. It can be even it can be from what proper grid, or sometimes you might have your own solar panels, and sometimes you might be having a standby diesel generators. So for all this type of consumption of electricity, there is a huge list of compliances that you have to abide by. So I'll take an instance of diesel generators. If you take up diesel generators, you already know that when you have a diesel generator, if it's a you have to procure a permission from the Chief Electricity Inspectorate. This is mainly because this is just for it's a permission. It's a no objection certificate to protect the passing of electricity to the through the grid. So just to avoid that, you're supposed to get for every DGNOC that you have that you place it in your your establishment, you're supposed to get CEIG permission. Similar thing, and also there are self-declaration being made. If it's less than a particular consumption is less than a particular kilowatt, it's self-declaration is fine. Or if it's more than that, then you have to get the inspector, get it tested, a third party to get it tested and certified. And also, if there is any accidents, you're supposed to intimate it. There are emergency numbers that has to be displayed, safety precautions that has to be maintained. A lot of things like that comes under Electricity Act. And Explosives Act. Explosives Act, you might be a vendor who sells out the gas cylinders or any particular mobile pressure vessels. So, when if you take up the instance of gas cylinder rules also, if you're storing in a bulk quantity, you're supposed to get PESO license. I know it is I know it is until and unless your retail store is a very huge, if you are storing a huge number of gas cylinders, if it's LPG, like there is an exemption if it's below 100 kg and all. So there is a huge list of compliances that you have to abide by when you take up the when you store gas cylinders in your establishment. And moving on to Petroleum Act also. Petroleum also, there is a if you are storing the petroleum rules, you have to, petroleum products, you're supposed to get the license. And Motor Vehicles Act, as I mentioned, I'm bringing it under safety related legislation because there are a lot of precautionary safety measures that you have to abide by even under Motor Vehicles Act, apart from the environment related, like environment, there is a pollution under control certificate that has to be procured and all. But from safety perspective, you're supposed to see if there are, like, if you have a proper first aid kit and all those related stuffs and all safety precautionary measures that you have implemented in your vehicle. The State Fire Act, it's known to a lot of people. This is to prevent the fire exposures or fire outbreak in your establishment. There is a fire NOC that has to be procured. There is fire compliance certificate that has to be submitted, monthly testing of fire installations, all those compliance falls under safety related legislations. And state lift and escalator act. If you have a lift in your establishment, for sure you have to get it registered. You have to get a proper permission for it. You have to get it tested, and if it's under maintenance, you have to procure. You have to clearly display that safety precautions. And state public safety measures enforcement act. I'm not sure if you have heard about this particular legislation. I just want to see if any of your retail store, if you have got a CCTV in your establishment. Do you know that for a CCTV to be placed in your restaurant, sorry, in your establishment, be it however small is your store, you have to file, periodic return for the CCTV that you have placed, and also save the footages that is coming up under the CCTV for a period of like 30 days and all. So this is something that most of them would have been ignoring, because they feel that this is not a compliance as alone. But there are a lot of states yet to implement it. But few states, like if you see Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and all, has got this particular Public Safety Measure Enforcement Act. And CCTV requirements is the major thing. Apart from that, there are other compliances also under this. But CCTV is something that is falling under this particular act. So uh, now, after this call, after this session, I would like to see if who all would be going back to check if they have to file a return in their establishment. And moving on to other set of safety related legislations is the Municipal Corporation Act. Like in your municipality, yeah, if your establishment is in a municipal corporation, then you have to procure a trade license, advertisement license, and all those things. And Panchayat Raj Act, basically, if it's in a panchayat, then it's a Gram Panchayat no objection certificate that you have to procure. And State Electricity Duty Act is slightly out of EHS laws, but I would say that if you're consuming electricity, if you're generating electricity for your own use, you have to pay a particular electricity duty. So this is a set of legislation briefly covered under these three pillars, but there might be more to it until unless you get to know what legislation, what activities you carry out. We cannot finalize or conclude with only these laws are applicable. Now, to give more understanding towards the compliance under each legislation, the compliance is categorized mainly into five. We are just categorizing it under five. The first being the license or registration. These includes all the licenses, NOCs, permissions, registrations that has to be maintained. We find around 55 is gonna be generally exhaustively be applicable to the retail sectors. There might be more. And filings, by filings, I mean all the returns, all the submissions, all the notices, every kind of filings are being clubbed under this. And that might be return that includes everything, like around 100 is what we are expecting. And the register maintenance and record maintenance, it's gonna be a monthly task. If you see, mostly it's monthly. There are quarterly register maintenance, etc. This is mainly, I'll tell you an instance. When an inspector comes to your establishment and you suddenly don't have anything to show that you have complied, but you have complied. But what do we show them that? How do we tell them that you are complying by all the requirements? That's when the registers plays a vital role. Over here, we feel that around 33 is the number of registers that a retail store has to maintain. And then the display, around 20. Display activities include every kind of details that has to be affixed on your premises, might be on your website, and even at every area which is required by the statute. So that is around 27. And specification standards include all the advisory related compliances, like for every standards or every requirements. That's, for example, I'll take in the instance of uh, uh, you have to comply by suppose the fire installation has to be regularly inspected. So this is one specification standard that VU brought brings in, and we feel that around 242 would be applicable to the retail sector. Now, just deep diving into each categories, we feel that, yeah, taking up the instance of the licenses, we feel these are the very general set of licenses that would be applicable. There are many more trade license, as I mentioned. You have, whenever you start an establishment, you have to procure the license. FSSR license is like I mentioned, it can be a registration or license. You have to procure. There are certain criteria, not just the turnover. One criteria is turnover. One other criteria is the production capacity, and the other criteria is basically the kind of business activity that you have gotten into. And based on that, the FSSI registration or license is categorized under basic registration, state license, and central license. Air and water consent is consent to operate and consent to establish. Lift license, again, as I mentioned earlier, if you have a lift, you have to procure this particular license. Legal metrology license is verification and stamping of every weights and measures. Signage licenses, if you're affixing any kind of advertisement or signage in your establishment, then you have to procure the special permission under every municipality or municipal corporation act. DGNOC again. As I mentioned, DGNOC is with respect to diesel generators, there is one NOC that has to be procured from the electricity department, that is from the Chief Electrical Inspectorate. The second type of permission is has to be clubbed with the PCB related compliance. Suppose if you are a retail store, you don't carry out any activity that is causing any kind of air or water pollution in the establishment, except a diesel generator. If you have a diesel generator, there is a particular capacity that they have prescribed. Based on that, you're supposed to procure PCB license. So even if if you don't have any manufacturing or processing happening in your establishment, if you have a diesel generator, you're supposed to procure PCB licenses. That is consent to operate and consent to establish. Drugs and cosmetic license, as I mentioned, if you are selling out any drugs in your establishment, be it a pharmacy or a supermarket or any area, you're supposed to procure. It can be a homeopathic medicine also, not just the English medicines. It can be any kind of drugs. There's a huge set of category that is being mentioned under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act and rules. Accordingly, it has to be seen. Just to give you a short vision towards the number of license that would be applicable. This set of license can be monthly, quarterly, half yearly, and also annually. Few of them are what on occurrence. Sometimes you suddenly feel that you have to suppose, for example, for erect a particular sewage system in your establishment, then at that point of time you have to get the permission. So few of them are on occurrence of such events. Then moving on to the filings. This is annual declaration on compliance of fire prevention and safety. Basically, if you are just to tell the authority that you're complying by all the prevention and safety of the fire installations, or all the whatever the act has prescribed, you're complying by all the things. So this is more like a self declaration, but has to be done annually by the management, and it has to be submitted to the authority. As I mentioned earlier about CCTV, There's a return that has to be filed. For few states, it's sorry, not monthly, quarterly. Few states, it's half yearly, and one state it is annually. So it's just a very few states who have adopted the return under the public safety enforcement rules, but the other states has the compliances related to there are certain specification standards also, like saving the footage is a requirement under most of the states, but yet there are a lot of states to bring up that particular rule, and there are compliances related to, you have to place your CCTV in such a position it has a visibility towards certain areas, public areas, which which the statute prescribes. So there are a lot of other compliances apart from the return filing under CCTV. And annual filing of fire safety audit certificate, like under Fire Act itself, you have to submit the fire audit certificate. Then half yearly return for own consumption of electricity. So if you are consuming electricity for your own consumption, you have to file a half yearly return. And self certification, as I mentioned earlier, if your electricity your usage is less than a particular what you are supposed to only self declare, or otherwise you have to get the authority or the third party to get it tested and submitted. Submission of sanitary certificate also, if you have to, especially the food related establishment, you have to submit the sanitary certificate. This is a requirement under certain states. And then report on periodical inspection and testing of fire equipment. This is the main issue that as I mentioned about the Mumbai Mall event, right? The massive fire outbreak. That was mainly because they didn't get their fire installed. They had only very few installations, like very few fire installations. Even those was not in a proper working conditions. So what you have to do is you have to periodically get it inspected and test it. So just get it tested, and then file that report to the authority, and your job is done there. Then this will, at the time of such massive outbreak, you will be able to use your fire equipment to reduce the intensity of the fire there. So in that scenario, the kind of impact that is going to cost your business is going to be less. One or the other compliance has to be abided, right? It's going to be very less. So this is very important with respect to fire related installations. Similar goes with the lift also. Even for lift as well, you have to get those lift properly inspected and tested. Just imagine one or two, three customers are getting inside your establishment's lift, and suddenly it's broken, and they're stuck inside the lift. Who is getting blamed there? It's the management, your management. So why do we have to take it to that level? If you're getting it periodically tested and that proper report is being submitted, there would be a lot of reduction in respect to the future impact. Now, just giving you a little more vision towards the filings. Again, there's a lot other compliances which is on occurrence as well. Also, monthly, quarterly, half yearly, and annually. Then moving on to the registers. Health and sanitation register is an important register that has to be maintained, and under FSSI, you have to regularly get it audited, as I mentioned earlier. That findings also has to be maintained. So if you see under registers, certain requirements are prescribed under statute. Certain requirements might be clearly from a best practice point of view as well, because certain inspectors clearly ask you when you conduct an audit, or when you conduct, so for example, I'm just telling, when you conduct an audit, how do you prove that you have conducted the audit? There, what you can do is to showcase the register that you have found, or report that they have framed after the audit. So those are the kind of proofs that you can submit, stating that you've complied by environment, health, and safety laws. As I mentioned about receiving temperature records. For perishable and frozen goods, you're supposed to maintain a particular temperature, and that temperature has to be recorded properly. That has to be maintained. And record of air emissions from generators and equipments. You have to periodically test the generators or any other requirements and get it recorded. This self-certification report also, as a register, you have to maintain it in your establishment. And DG set installation, again, DG set has to be periodically tested. That record has to be maintained. And even for your store, there has to be a emergency mock drill that has to be conducted biannual. And in case of lift or escalator, um, if there is any accident that has happened, or even if there is nothing, you're supposed to maintain an accident logbook. If there is no accident that had happened, you have to put it as nil, giving a vision towards the register that has to be maintained. Yeah. Then moving on to the display activity. As I mentioned, for FSSI license or registration, registration has to be even affixed on the e-commerce website, your premises as well. And also, as I mentioned earlier about the food service establishments, they have to clearly provide all the information on the menu cards or boards or booklets. Like it can be calorific value, nutrition information, all the other details have to be allergen information, etc. And then notice to indicate that your lift is under maintenance. You would have seen certain lift in front of it. They would have stuck something if that lift is not working, that this lift is under maintenance. So that is a requirement, and also it is from a safety perspective. And also in in certain establishments, you would have also seen the emergency numbers, especially being affixed in front of any electrical equipment or any maybe your diesel generators or any particular places like that. There is emergency numbers prescribed. So this is also a requirement under the statute. And if there is any particular installations which is above 250 volt, you are supposed to stick a danger notice also. And food safety display board is also a mandatory requirement under the premises. And as I mentioned, all the buildings, you're supposed to stick a notice stating that no smoking, it's a no smoking zone. The, yes. Now, see, this is with respect to all the registers, filings, returns, and licenses. Now, what impact is it gonna cause if you are not abiding by all these compliances? What is the kind of risk that is being caused to you? Like it. Uh, Briefly, if you see, this is gonna be, if you categorize it, if you see, there's a legal risk involved, there's an operational risk, financial risk, and reputational risk. So legal risk, if you see, if there is a particular non-compliance of any of the environment safety laws or compliances, this can end to a prosecution of directors, occupiers, or any safety officers. That apart from fines and imprisonment is something that everybody knows, that if you non-comply by it, you get a penalty of like what, this much rupees, and sometimes hardly you will be imprisoned. This is the only thing that everybody feels that would come out as a penalty. But apart from it, there is a huge risk that is involved. Is one is the criminal prosecution. There might, at some instance, if there is a loss of life and all, due to certain non-compliances, that it can even cause the prosecution of directors, and also court mandated shutdowns. If you, I'm not sure if you have come across, there are a lot of restaurants which has been shut down because they were not providing a hygienic food there. So that is completely impacting the business that they have built up from the scratch. Just imagine if the food was in a stale condition, and or if the food has been poisoned, or if the food is not in a hygienic condition. Just imagine, once the restaurant has been shut down, will the will any, suppose if they try to open it back under the same name, will there anybody who goes back to that restaurant? It is very difficult. From my point of view, I would not personally go there, because your life is at risk there. So there your reputation is being lost. the brand that you have built up from the scratch is going into what, waste. So apart from it, you would have taken a lot of time to procure certain licenses, but just due to one particular non-compliance, the entire licenses or any NOCs or registrations that you've procured might get cancelled. So, or it might not even allowed to be renewed. Just imagine the amount of effort you would have put out to procure those licenses. So why do we have to look? Why do we have to bring to that level? So apart from legal risk, there's an operational risk also. Like suppose your premises is being shut down, I mean sealed for or stop work orders has been issued, then your activity is being blocked there, right? You can't sell your products, your revenue goes down, and all those things happens. And also, is suppose if you have not taken up certain if you have not abided by certain conditions, your consent to operate or any other approvals clubbing or related to that might get delayed. To procure those also might get delayed. And financial risk, as I mentioned, heavy penalties. It's gonna be it's gonna be a lakhs and crores at some instance. And also legal cost, loss of revenue. And as I mentioned about the reputational risk, it's not just the public trust you are going to lose, but a very negative media coverage that is going to tarnish your brand image. And you might be blacklisted by all the government, global clients, to who are willing to merge with you, or lot of other amalgamations. So why do we have to take up to that level? Why where there comes a boardroom very, then a lot of stringent imprisonment risk has been involved, of hefty financial penalties and reputational damages coming up. So your entire market valuation goes down due to all these reasons as well. So mainly, so if you see this non-compliance is mainly a there's a lot of unique challenges involved in the environment, health, and safety laws. I'm quite aware that a lot of I'm not sure if you know that with respect to labor and LEA, I mean labor, employment, and industrial laws, fiscal, corporate, and commercial laws, environment, health, and safety laws is a bit different from them. Because here environment, health, and safety laws are going to impact your public, impact not just the company but also to the public. And here, as I mentioned, the custodianship of the by custodianship, what I meant is the ownership of the compliances, it's scattered. Nobody knows who handles it. If I take the instance of labor laws, you know that HR handles it, or maybe hardly a legal team might handle it. And when it comes to fiscal, corporate, and commercial laws, there would be a finance team. Most of the companies has a finance team, and sometimes they might have a CS also who handles these kind of laws. But what about environment, health, and safety laws? Who handles it? Is the operations team handling it? Or HR? Or is it just the admin team? Or is it just the legal team? Or is it a company secretary? Because it's scattered in few of the companies. Certain complaints are being handled by business operations team, certain complaints are being handled by the administrative team, and some others by legal, other by HR. So it's like literally scattered. So when the laws are being scattered, the kind of mess that would happen in the establishment is huge. So the risk involved and uh, the structure, organized way of handling things would be very less. So that's when see, that's the main reason when you would actually need somebody from outside to handle your compliances. It has to be a proper consultant or a proper tech enabled system to take care of these compliances for you. That's when we, Abrajda, would like to pitch what we have to give. See, what do we offer in the market? As if now, if you see, you're all very well aware that Abrajda has a tech enabled system in place. But now, what we offer for EHS laws and for the people, what we offer here is an end-to-end management of the entire compliances. So, what we're offering here is a EHS compliance framework where there is a tech-enabled system, there is a centralized customer care executive who would be coordinating with each and every spoke of yours to get the license procured, file the returns, register maintenance, and display activity, and all other specifications and standards as well. So they coordinate with all the stakeholders in your end and get the things. So what we do is here we try to once the client is being onboarded, we do a gap analysis to see where are you lacking, where what do you lack in your establishment, where are you getting non-compliant. So we understand your establishment properly. We try to do a audit, identify what all laws would be applicable to you. Then we get into the second step is to uh, configure these compliances on our tool. Then all your customer care support executive would be intimating you that these things has to be abided by you. We have a proper operations team who uh, handles in each state, in each unit that you would be handling personally to procure the licenses, file the necessary returns, get the register maintained, display the requirements or details on your establishment premises or any other places. So apart from this, you get a real time compliance status upon as a dashboard on our tool, and also up to date notification. So tomorrow if something, if there is a law change, you would be the first person to know that this particular law has been changed and that's going to impact my business. You're on the tool, it gets changed, and you would be placed in such a position that you would be complied uh, by within 48 hours. So this is the kind of fast resolution that we are bringing to your table, where we feel that EHS doesn't just require a tool, but it need a back-end support, a complete team who would be completely holding you safely. So that's the reason we have introduced this entire EHS compliance framework for you. Now, so I just wanted to showcase to you the real-time compliance overview on our dashboard. This is how it would be, where we shows the complied, delayed compliance, and not complied details. This is the criticality review. We have categorized under certain criticality, probable risk, and exposed risk. And this is how your data would be, all the document uploads, submissions, and details would be uploaded on tool. Yeah, this again is the status of your opened and resolved compliances. So that's it with respect to then their understanding of environment, health, and safety law. So what we offer is not just for Abrajita offers not just for big brands, but we also have equal uh, support that we would like to offer for all the MSMEs as well. So yeah, I would like to let you know that if you have any questions, you can post it at this moment on the chat box. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. So here we have some questions. I'll just start with the questions which are already there in the chat box. First one is by Mr. Saddam. He says that gas cylinder rule 2024 has been replaced by gas cylinder rule 2016.
What is
So
it? Come again?
yeah, he's saying that gas cylinder rule 2004 has been repealed by gas cylinder rule 2016. So whether
Yes,
he's
yes,
asking if the rule has been changed or if
yes,
there is any
yes,
update.
yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Then there is one
Um,
question. Yeah,
I'm
you
not
want
able to see any of the questions. Is it on the chat box?
Yeah, it is there on the chat box.
I think it's not provided to me. Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you
Mm,
the second question.
mm,
So, this question is from Pallavila. It is
mm.
that is signage license mandatory if we advertise on our own boundary wall?
Yes.
Okay. Then there is one more question. In the office, we used an electric stove for making tea. Which type of license is required?
You can just procure a FS if you are providing any kind of food items there in your establishment, you can procure a registration, FSI registration.
Okay. Uh, do we have any further questions to be addressed? Kindly put in the chat box. These were the three questions which we had till now. So rest, if anyone has any questions, please put it across in the chat box.
So you can, if there is any particular questions you can also write to us. We would try to give you the answers immediately. So pose the questions on mail as well. We can give you the answers. Yeah.
Right. So I think we'll just wait for a minute if we are having any questions.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Mr. Hari Prasad, is it possible that you can type your question in the chat box? I have
I
allowed you the
don't
mic.
think.
Yeah, I have allowed him the mic.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Hari Prasad, you can ask your question.
Hello. Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Yes. Hi. Good evening.
Ma'am, I wanted to know about that fire license, recommendation letter license relating process and all, what and all we have to do.
Sorry. Fire license.
Fire recommendation license related, I wanted to know, madam. More information about that.
So see. So if what is your outlet?
It's a shop and establishment under equity.
Yeah. So I understood, but then
We have a two outlets. We have a two outlet. One is shops and establishment. It will give. One is factory license. It will under.
so you have to procure, see, for you have to first procure the fire NOC from the department, whichever state you are. There's a state specific fire department in every state. You have to procure the fire NOCs from them and also abide by certain other compliances like fire get your there has to be a proper fire installations in your establishment. Installation, what I meant is like the fire extinguishers and all, and proper ventilation has to be provided, and also you have to get the installations inspected properly, and then a fire report also has to be submitted to the authority. There are certain legislations like that. You write to us, we will give you a detailed understanding of the based on your activity.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am,
Okay.
one more.
Mhm.
Hello, one more concern.
Yes.
Can
Mhm.
I have your mail ID or anything, madam? If you have any queries, we can give a
Yes.
mail to you for regarding
Sure,
some
sure. We
our
can get
compliance
that.
Yeah,
part and all.
we will be dropping that in the chat box and you will be getting a mail across also for the same.
Yeah, yeah, madam. It's better for us. Thank you.
Yeah,
Got it.
thanks. We have one more question, that do you provide formats or checklists in the software, or else you provide alerts only?
So what we have it on our software is, as I mentioned earlier, we'll understand what your establishment is, and then we'll find out what all compliances would be applicable to you. All the compliances would be listed in that establishment. Along with it, the format. So most of the requirements. See, nowadays, government is making everything online. So wherever it's online, we provide that link towards that online requirement. And if it's offline, then the exact form provision, a form name will be provided, and the format template would be provided. So the entire compliance description will provide what all things has to be abided clearly. So that our tool would have the entire thing, entire details for you, along with the frequency, the type of compliances, etc.
Addition to the same question is asked, in your software, is there any verification process whether we complied the registers, etc., is in line whether
Yeah.
with the legal requirement?
So as I mentioned earlier, we are doing an end-to-end management here. So when I say end-to-end here, every compliances we would personally have, we do have a personal team who get try to understand that if you have complied, if it's a license, registers, returns and display, we personally see if you have complied. And with respect to specifications and standards, we do have a declaration template up on our tool, and you will have to fill in the self declaration stating that you have abided by it, and upload that, let us know, and we would provide those data and we would upload it for you. So when you are taking our entire EHS compliance framework, we are offering everything to you. So there is a verification also with respect to if you to see if you have uh, complied by the compliances. Yeah.
Okay, so I think those are all the questions which we have had.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now,
But
yeah. So
any,
I
sorry, one last thing from the same person. Is there any client who is using this software?
we have a lot of other clients. There's a big brands who are using it now. Currently, we are in. There's this client called Alpha Label who's getting on board with us. So there are a lot of compliance. As I've mentioned, we have got 25 years of. Uh, we are being 25 years in the service, offering this tech-enabled system along with the services. Now we've got a lot of clients as well, taking care of this, who is taking up our EHS compliance framework. If you don't mind, you can drop, if you want to more know about or get a demo or a more understanding of our compliance framework, you can drop the mail. Our team will get back to you, and we'll give an understanding of the entire things.
Okay, so I think that's all then in reference with questions. So thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I hope to see
hope to have,
everybody for the next webinar as well. We are periodically hosting a lot of webinars. We are making it free because mainly because we want this to reach everybody. We want everybody to be complied by under EHS laws. It's not just the moral duty, but also from a business brand reputation point of view, uh, this is a very important thing that you have to abide by. So we're promoting that for everybody. Please do register for all the upcoming webinars. It would be available on our website. Please look into it. Thank you, everyone. So please pose the question. Whoever couldn't ask any questions, please pose the question in the mail ID, which Shreya would be posting in the chat box. We would be happy to reply to it, to any and every question that you post. Or if it's sales related, our sales team will get back to you. Thank you, everyone.
thank you, everyone.